They thought the desert would bury the trail. They thought the heat, the money, the marble floors, and the silence would erase everything that happened at LAX. They were wrong. Because at 3:30 a.m., in a city that never forgives arrogance, the illusion shattered, doors blown open, boots pounding marble, Arabic commands slicing through the air, and the truth finally came crashing down in one of the most expensive hotel rooms on earth for days. One question refused to die: where did the $12 million go? 7 black suitcases, cash bricks, walked straight out of Los Angeles International Airport like it was pocket change. Rumors exploded. Europe, private islands, offshore ghosts. But the truth didn't hide in shadows. It hid in plain sight, glowing gold under the Dubai skyline. She landed, she brought the money, and she made one fatal mistake. She believed Dubai still played by old rules. That belief ended when the Dubai Police Special Task Force smashed into the penthouse at Atlantis the Royal. No knock, no courtesy, no titles respected. Witnesses on the royal floor describe a concussive blast, reinforced doors folding inward, echoes rolling down corridors where billionaires usually whisper. This wasn't paparazzi. This was a tactical takedown. Hallway footage shows black-clad officers moving like a single organism, faces covered, weapons ready, absolute control. Then, the moment that froze the world, 2 female officers dragging a woman from the suite. No crown, no glam squad. Barefoot, silk robe, handcuffs. The fairy tale had officially died, but the arrest wasn't the real story. The real story was what sat in the middle of the living room. 7 black suitcases, unzipped, stuffed with bricks of U.S. currency, $12 million, untouched, unwashed, unbanked, not in shell companies, not in trusts, not hidden in digital smoke. Just sitting there because no bank would take it. By the time she arrived, the red flags were already flying. Global alerts, money laundering whispers. Financial institutions across the way quietly slammed their doors shut. The money was radioactive. She was trapped in a $100,000 a night penthouse with evidence she couldn't move and couldn't explain. A golden cage. And this raid, it wasn't local. It wasn't impulsive. This was diplomatic. Behind the scenes, phones were lighting up across continents. Intelligence channels, justice departments. A quiet emergency session between U.S. officials and Owe authorities sealed the deal. Extradition papers were signed before the door was breached. The message was blunt: we want the money and we want her. Dubai didn't hesitate. The city has spent years scrubbing its reputation, fighting to escape the financial gray list, desperate to be seen as a clean global hub, not a playground for international cash games. Harboring a high-profile American royal with $12 million in dirty money, that was a liability they could not afford. So they made an example. As officers restrained her, body cam audio captured the moment panic replaced confidence. She wasn't screaming for her husband, she screamed for a powerful name. Call the sheikh. I have a deal she believed would save her, a connection she bragged about, protection she thought she had purchased. But the phone never rang back, because power in Dubai only protects you until you become a problem. And inside that suite, another figure sat frozen, on the edge of the bed, head in hands, silent, not handcuffed, not questioned, ignored. A man who already knew it was over. Officers swept the room, burner phones, laptops, encrypted devices, and then the most dangerous item of all, a handwritten ledger on the nightstand. Names, transfers, facilitators, the invisible network that made the impossible possible. This wasn't just a bust. This was a collapse. As suitcases rolled out of the suite, something else broke. She stopped fighting. She looked straight into the body cam, not defiant, not angry, but stunned. In that second, she understood something no interview could spin, no documentary could soften. There is no narrative escape from a SWAT raid, no PR strategy for 7 suitcases of cash, no comeback from extradition papers. Authorities confirmed she was transferred to Al Aware Central Jail. No luxury, no privacy, no royal exceptions. A holding cell with women awaiting deportation, financial crimes, visa violations, jewelry removed, identity stripped. Meanwhile, the clock was already ticking elsewhere, because the story didn't end in the jail. It ended, or rather began, with a piece of digital evidence moving quietly toward prosecutors. An audio recording, an iPhone voice memo, timestamped 3 hours before the raid. And the person who pressed record wasn't a journalist. It wasn't law enforcement. It was her husband. On the tape, the suite hums with air conditioning, distant traffic, footsteps pacing, a voice unraveling. We can't move it yet. It's dirty. We skimmed it. If they find out, we go to jail. 3 sentences, 3 confessions, no coercion, no spin, just raw panic. The other voice sounds defeated, pleading for sanity, for return, for retreat. The response? Cold. Final. This is my money, my severance. That recording explains everything. The silence on the bed bed, the calm during the raid, the untouched suitcases. It explains how authorities knew exactly where to go and exactly what they'd find, because the betrayal had already happened. By the time the doors came down, the deal was done. Freedom traded for truth. And as the sun rose over Dubai, one reality became unavoidable. The escape plan had failed, the alliance had fractured, and the empire had collapsed under the weight of its own greed. By sunrise, the damage was already irreversible. Inside the stark concrete walls of Al Awir Central Jail, the fantasy finally collapsed. No stylists, no advisors, no crisis team whispering next moves. Just fluorescent lights, steel doors, and the slow realization that every bridge had burned behind her. The first demand came fast. I need to speak to the U.S. ambassador. What she received instead was a junior consular official and a thin folder of local defense attorneys. 10 minutes, no reassurances, no rescue, just procedure. The message couldn't have been clearer if it had been shouted, "This government is not here to save you, only to process you." While she sat in custody, events elsewhere accelerated with ruthless efficiency. In Miami, federal agents intercepted a man known quietly in financial circles as the banker. He was minutes from boarding a private jet bound for Venezuela, a country chosen for one reason only. He didn't make it. Agents swarmed the tarmac. Cuffs snapped shut. And within hours, the man who built the shell maze cracked. 40 years on the table does that to people. He didn't offer excuses, he offered records. A master ledger, withdrawals, transfers, instructions. Every dollar traced from production budgets to cash bricks. One email alone detonated what little defense remained, break it into chunks. Do not trigger the 10K alert. That wasn't ignorance, that was intent. The illusion of plausible deniability disintegrated in a single line of text. This wasn't money that wandered, it was money engineered to disappear. Back in Dubai, word filtered into the cell block. When she learned the banker had flipped, witnesses say her legs buckled. She didn't scream this time. She didn't argue. She simply collapsed because she understood what the ledger meant. The firewall was gone. The passwords were gone. The story was over. At the same time, a separate operation unfolded quietly under diplomatic cover. A military aircraft touched down at a restricted base outside Dubai. Not civilian, not commercial. A precision extraction. One passenger listed. One priority. The bloodline. No announcements. No cameras. An armored convoy moved through the heat, carrying a man who hadn't slept, hadn't spoken, and hadn't looked back. There would be no goodbye. No final conversation. His exit was clean because it had to be. Saving the son meant abandoning the wife. The desert didn't offer second chances. Within hours, the extradition protocol activated. A white aircraft bearing federal markings waited on a remote runway. No luxury, no comfort. This wasn't escape, it was rendition. Footage from a distance captured the moment history froze. She emerged in a gray jail-issued tracksuit, wrists cuffed, waist chained, ankles shackled. She paused at the bottom of the stairs, staring at the skyline she thought would protect her. No wave, no smile, just silence. The door closed, the engines spooled, and the flight lifted west. While she crossed the Atlantic restrained, Manhattan prepared its stage. In a packed federal courtroom, the indictment was unsealed. 24 counts stacked like bricks. Money laundering conspiracy, wire fraud, bulk cash smuggling, false declarations, each charge tighter than the last. The prosecutor didn't dramatize. He didn't need to. She believed celebrity would shield her from law, he said. She was wrong. Bail was requested. A mansion offered. Monitors proposed. The rebuttal came fast and lethal. Flight risk, foreign resources, proven ability to move millions in cash. Denied. The word landed like a gavel through glass. She was remanded immediately, processed straight into a detention system built to break illusions. No private wing. No exceptions. Just numbers, routines, and locked doors. And as she disappeared behind holding cells, another plane touched down in London. Gray skies, cold rain, no crowd. A lone figure stepped off quietly, carrying his own bag, escorted not by family but by security. There was no welcome, only containment. A safe house, legal debriefings, silence thick enough to suffocate. He was back but not forgiven. Documents moved fast after that. Emergency custody filings, quiet arrangements. The children, sheltered far from cameras, became the final chess pieces in a game neither parent truly controlled anymore. Hollywood responded the only way it ever does when subpoenas loom. Silence. Phones went unanswered. Friends vanished. Agencies distanced. No statements, no defenses. Everyone understood the blast radius. Streaming executives, meanwhile, sharpened knives. Civil litigation prepared to follow the criminal case like a shadow. Assets, trademarks, property, everything once untouchable now mapped and measured. By the time the aircraft landed at a secure base outside New York, helicopters already circled. Long lenses caught the image that would define the decade. A woman in shackles on a wet tarmac. The contrast was brutal. The gown remembered by billions versus the restraint seen by millions. The transformation complete. At arraignment, she scanned the room searching for someone, anyone. There was no one, just reporters, sketch artists, and officials doing their jobs. Bail denied again. The doors closed. Across an ocean, a palace released a statement so short it cut deeper than any condemnation. No titles, no defenses, just distance. Legal matter. Focus on children. Severance in ink. As night fell, two worlds settled into their new realities. One behind reinforced walls, stripped of narrative, status, and control. The other inside ancient grounds, physically safe but permanently marked. The fairy tale didn't end with applause. It ended with paperwork, evidence, and locked doors. Because institutions don't rage, they don't cry, they wait. And when they move all at once. This wasn't a scandal. It was a reckoning. And by the time the dust settled, there was nothing left to spin. Only the cold, irreversible weight of consequences catching up at last. Consequences catching up at last. Consequences catching up at last.